Eden Koz here with Just Be, and we are about to take a spiritual boom. We are at an unprecedented time in human history where we are transitioning from 3D to 5D within the great spiritual awakening. This video and audio podcast is the place for you to find your truth beyond politics, your sovereignty, your voice. Let's kick up your vibration now. By the way, each episode ends with the Just Be practice to do just that. And as we begin the show, just to know a little bit more about me, I'm a soul realignment specialist, meditation master, and dimensional healer. Learn more, and there's merch also at EdenJustBe.com. Let's get this party started. You ready? Eden, Just Be, Spiritual Boom in association with the Grassroots Warrior Network. David Gibson in California right now, correct?
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Pleasure
We're going to
be here.
I'm so glad to have you here. We're going to be talking about sound healing and so much more with that because as David knows, I've watched some of his podcasts already, and they're so deep and so interesting. So I love it when you do your frequencies as well. So we're going to move into that. All right. So a quick note. David knows I'm going to talk for just a second before introducing his beautiful bio. I'm going to give a shout out to Honolulu. That was my biggest city for audio downloads in 2024, which I think that's just amazing. And did you know that right now, MK Ultra, that term is trending worldwide? I think that's amazing. And David, I don't know about you. I still look at what's going on in the world, but I've stopped a little bit just to keep that balance. I went on last night and I was like, oh my gosh, some of my Telegram shows, terrorist attacks, shootings in New York, plane crashes, China stuff. And I was like, whoa, look at everything that's going on. Like it can be so chaotic. So again, we're going to talk about peace. And again, I would encourage everyone out there, just ride the wave. We're going to be going through some crazy, crazy times right now. Hang in there. And I did want to bring up this little story. So this house that I'm in right now is about 100 years old. And all of the appliances in the kitchen were old, like over 20 years old. So in July, when they were having all the sales, I'm like, oh, go ahead, because nothing had broken at this point, but I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and just get some new things. So I got new microwave, new refrigerator, new stove, new dishwasher. Yesterday, the door on my dishwasher started making some really weird sounds. So I called the place where I got my appliance from, and it's still under warranty, so they're going to send someone out to fix it. So I was talking to the lady today. All right, get this, David. She's like, well, everything that was made after COVID essentially is crap, is what she said. So she said, you can go ahead and get an extended warranty. You can pay more money to get an extended warranty because there's a high chance that your stuff is going to break. And I just sat there and I'm like, okay, so I have to pay more money to insure this product because it's basically faulty. And I could have kept my old stuff and it probably would have run another 5 years. So I'm still just sitting with that going, wow, this is the world that we live in today. It's amazing. So maybe I need to do some sound healing to my washing machine. I don't know.
Send it love with a sound.
Yes. Can you give me a sound later? Ooh. Okay. And what I love about talking to David today is I do a lot of frequencies in my work and get a lot of downloads as well. So I'm really excited. All right. So let's go into you. Thank you for listening. David Gibson is the director of Global Sound Healing Institute in San Francisco, California, and online, offering state-approved certification programs, and sound healing and therapy. He is the author of the book, The Complete Guide to Sound Healing, as well as a top-selling producer of sound healing music. Beyond his music being in many hospitals around the country, including Boston General and UC Medical Center, he runs the Sound Therapy Center at the Global Sound Healing Institute, offering 15 types of sound healing treatments. David is also the co-founder of the Sound Healing Research Foundation, designed to help bring sound healing into the mainstream, which is homes and hospitals. He has also set up the Medical Sound Association to figure out how to cure every disease in the world. Is that all? Every disease in the world, David?
That's all.
That's all. He has created over 2,500 exercises for children based on books on brain development for every age level. Okay, can you, the beautiful bio, by the way,
That's
can you
Globe.
start?
That's Globe Sound Healing Institute, not Global.
Thank you. Thank you for the correction. Okay, how did you first start noticing that we are in this matrix, we are heading into the golden age, all of that juicy stuff? How did that come to you?
Well, I started as a recording engineer, and I worked with a lot of major bands. I worked with James Brown's band and the Doobie Brothers, and I started seeing this magic coming across from different musicians. Sometimes I would get just chills and goosebumps, and sometimes the room would turn purple, right? And I thought, how can we reproduce this at will? What is that magic? What's going on? And so I was teaching audio recording. I had the audio recording school, and then I added on the sound healing then. And that was over 20 years ago. And now we still do audio recording, but we're doing sound healing as well. But then I also came up with a visual system in my recording program to be able to show different sounds visually. So each sound in the mix is an actual sphere or bubble. And I wrote a book that uses bubbles to show different structures of mixes for all types of music. And I realized after making a system where I could use this in virtual reality, I realized I could put those spheres or bubbles inside the body. And so you would see it, image of the body graphically, and you could drop a geometry into like your heart, and it will move the sound up and down on the sound table so you feel it in your heart right where you're seeing it. And I thought, if I'm going to be putting sounds and visuals inside the body, I need to learn exactly what's going on so I don't blow up any organs.
Okay, let me stop you there for a moment. All right, when you started seeing the color purple in the studio, had you ever done any kind of like spiritual work before where you just like, oh, there's purple all around? Was it kind of mind blowing to you, or did you just go, oh, okay, well, what can I do next?
Yeah, it was. For a long time, it was like, oh, what's that? Right?
Yeah.
And I would see it in nature. I would see it, especially when I was in the zone. And then, after many years, I thought, people talk about Saint Germain, that purple flame, right? And I started looking into that, and I thought, maybe I could use this in healing sessions. So I started using the purple to extend it into the person I was working with. And I was like, whoa, and they saw purple. Right?
Okay,
It's
and for those of
also,
you who can't see us right now, I'm wearing a purple sweater. David's got purple behind him. So, yeah, meant to be. All right, go ahead, please.
yeah. And then also I see it when I'm resonating love. In my bio, I just finished my 4th book, which is Sound Loving Relationships. I thought I better write a book and maybe I can figure out how to do it. Right.
Right.
Right. And often when there's love in the room, I see purple as well.
Okay, so I want more clarification on this, please. Did you come from a religious background? Did you come from parents who were accepting of, I don't know, oddities? Were you always unique? Like how did this come to you? Because I started in my late 20s a meditation class, which opened me up to all of my gifts, if you want to call it that. Like before this class, there had been things, but I didn't recognize them. So how did you how did this start coming? Like how did you start moving more into this? Okay, I don't know if I'm asking the question
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love it. So, my parents weren't spiritual at all. I mean, I did get baptized when I was little, and went to Methodist. So actually, I got my spiritual inclination from my grandma, right? And so it was probably drugs that actually first opened me up. I actually had an experience on drugs with this woman that was the most heart open being ever.
Okay.
And she completely opened my heart while on drugs, and that was palpable. And because when your heart is blown wide open on drugs, you don't forget it. So that was very cool. Then it
Okay.
was
Like how old were you in that time?
oh, that was just in high school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then over the years, the little things happened bit by bit, and then in the last 10 years, things just started to happen dramatically. So there's a the top and most famous and most powerful sound healer in the world is Tom Kenyon.
Yes, I love Tom Kenyon.
Yeah, Tom Kenyon, he was a psychotherapist, and he was in meditation one day, and these aliens called the Hathors came to him in a meditation and said they want to write a book through him. And he goes, "Where are you from?" And they go, "Venus." And he goes, "I'm not writing a frickin' book from weirdos from Venus. You'll blow my credibility. I got a PhD here," right? So they bugged him over a year, and then after a year, a publishing company came to him and said, "Tom, you won't believe this, but these aliens came to us and said we're supposed to publish your book." And
Okay.
so then he wrote the book called The Hathor Material. And so that was years ago, but I know Tom quite well. We're good friends. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I was talking to a psychic, and this psychic said, "Here's the Hathors." And I said, "I know them. They're from ancient Egypt. They were out in society in ancient Egypt. Their carvings are all over Egypt. I've been to Egypt, right?" And I said,
Wow.
"What do they want?" And she says, "They want to build a super highway between your pituitary and pineal gland." And I'm like, "Okay, go for it." And ever since then, I've actually got another psychic's been tracking it. My intuition has gone off the deep end, and I'm getting downloads all the time. And my voice has changed. I now can do a lower octave. I couldn't do
Mm.
that before, right?
Wow.
And so that has really changed everything dramatically. So I've got all these different projects, as you mentioned a little bit, a new medical system, a new educational system. And this psychic, she said, there's beings on the other side that are more interested in your project than you are. And I'm like, "Really?" And they said, "And you're going to get all the help you need." And I said, "I don't have to get out of bed?" And they said, "Nope, nope." And it's happened. I'm now getting massive funding to be able to do whatever we need to help as many people as possible with
Oh.
about 15, 20, actually about 25 different projects.
Okay. Okay, because one of my questions I was going to ask you that okay, so the basis of my work, I guess if you want to call it that, is mindfulness and meditation. And before COVID, probably about 25 to 30% of my work was corporate. So one of the hospitals locally I was their mindfulness teacher of record. So I consider myself pretty expanded, but I could go into a corporate setting and talk to pretty much anyone. So, and then this other business would call and this other business. So there was footing there, yet it never seemed like it would take off or there'd be a stopping point. And then after COVID, I think I've done like 2 corporate presentations. So that part has really left the building at this point. And when I started to become awake during COVID, I realized, well, there's a reason that this isn't being accepted widely is because if people can learn how to heal themselves, then Western medicine loses its footing, which that's big right now. The medical system loses its footing, big pharma. Uh, Yet I feel that all of that now is going to really start to change as we awaken and people desire to learn more. And it sounds like you are you are it. You are showing that this is happening. What do you
Well,
say to that?
there's two avenues. One is really educating the masses that
Yes.
you can actually heal yourself, because the mass consciousness is we can't heal ourselves.
Right.
We
We're victims.
absolutely have to call a doctor. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's the whole deal, right?
Yes.
So there's that aspect, and that's based on really overcoming chaos, which is disease, with stable, consistent vibrations, which are the vowels and crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, anything that does a drone. It's like this. It's like fear is a chaotic vibration. Ah! Or anxiety. Or pain. Or anger. Or just stress. And those are all chaotic waveforms versus the vowels, which are peaceful. Anybody can feel the difference, right?
Yeah.
What I've
So good.
learned is peace is a frequency humming consistently.
Okay, say that
So
again.
peace is a frequency humming consistently
Okay.
instead of chaotically. A lot of people talk about going out of tune parts of the body. That's serious. That's like a cancer cell's now changed to a different frequency. That's really serious. The basis is just chaos, which is buzzes or tension in the body. And over time, that becomes a disease. So I was a physics major at UC Berkeley. There's a basic law of physics, and that is a really important one. A strong vibration will overcome a weaker vibration and entrain the weaker into the stronger. So we can simply go to any part of the body, physically, emotionally, that's buzzing, and it will often, in fact, most of the time, especially emotionally, overcome it and create that peace. So this is the first step to be able to teach people. So what I've done is I've created 3 movies. One is Close Encounters 2. The aliens come back as bubbles floating between the speakers and show how to heal every disease, and then show the frequency and geometry of love, and then say, put that in your heart, and it will open it up, and then the pharmaceutical companies show up and the military, and then we open their hearts, right? And then we heal every disease on the planet, and every heart is healed. We've got a Cirque du Soleil play as well, and then we're doing 7 shows, working on 7 shows for Netflix, which will be the science behind the magic of sound, because we really need to educate the masses. My brother in Amherst, Massachusetts, I told him I was doing sound healing. He says, what the hell are you doing that shit for? He says, that's ridiculous, right? And then he got 4th stage cancer, prostate cancer, and went into Massachusetts General, who paid me $15,000 to actually do a whole series of CDs for their integrative therapy department, and he sees the CDs advertised on the TV in the hospital while he's there, and now he's talking to me. But okay, so that's just the first stage, getting the masses educated and getting them blissed out just by doing stable, consistent things. And there's people doing sound baths all over the place, although that's considered a little woo-woo. Because the second side, and it's quite different, and that is to get it into hospitals. And that's what we were talking about before. And I've figured it out, how to do it.
Yeah, tell me.
The deal is to get the hospitals to lead it. And the only ones that are going to do that are the ones with insurance companies, because they're interested in reducing costs, whereas the other ones could care less. So I'm now working with Anthony Holland, who's got 15 frequencies that will destroy 15 different types of cancer, 80% of the time in lab, and he's got clinical papers to prove it. And so we're just going to get FDA approval and then start bringing it in. Now, even still, the other problem, it's not only just the pharmaceutical companies, it's also the hospitals have a billion-dollar building just for cancer. It's their main moneymaker.
Moneymaker, right?
So where we start with that is we start in Asia, and we start in Europe, which is much more open. And then if we are curing cancer 80 to 100% of the time, because with an electron microscope we can actually find every frequency within a cancer cell, and based on destructive resonance, which is exactly the way ultrasound works on kidney stones, we can actually map all frequencies of a cancer cell and explode it 100% of the time. We're talking no more chemo, no more radiation within 10 years. Right? But we got to sneak it in. But there, it's education, because the public is going to drive it. But here's the big problem. I'm also doing a project on getting rid of pain. If the science behind pain is, if you fill up a nerve with sound, it can only handle one piece of information, and therefore the pain doesn't get through anymore. So if we find the frequency of all nerves and all mechanisms within the body that create pain, we can actually resonate them into a frequency, and there's no more pain. Behind all of this is the science. We really got to put the science forward. And as a physics major, I had classes on the physics of sound in detail. This is not woo-woo.
Right.
Right. So we're really talking about, a whole medical center that we're setting up to do research and get the science out there. But what I'm really interested in is how many people can we help? There's people doing some cool research. A friend of mine, a well-known colleague in the field, he did a research project where he hooked up a blood cell counter and then had people tone with love from around the world through Zoom into it, and it created so many healthy blood cells, it actually shut the machine down.
That's awesome. That's
But
awesome.
how is that going to help millions of people?
Mm-hmm.
It's cool because it's educating a bit, right,
Mm-hmm.
that it's real. But how is it really going to help? What we're now looking at is a think tank to figure out how to heal every disease. And I've got a framework as to how it all works. And my guides gave me this down at 4 in the morning. Like, okay, it's 4 in the morning. This is when we work. Okay, fine. I'm a little tired. Nope, this is when we work. Okay. So they said we need to find out the melody and rhythm of each of the 11 medical systems: circulatory, respiratory, nervous system, muscular system, all the medical systems that doctors work with. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, well, we can use an electron microscope that my friend's using, or a light microscope that I've learned about, to actually find the frequency, not only the frequency, but all the frequencies within a cell, scientifically, really scientifically. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can actually map out the rhythm of each of the systems based on EKG and EEG when you're in the zone at peace. So we get you into peace and measure the EKG and EEG, which is a rhythm. EKG and EEG is a rhythm, which is an actual note. If you take a rhythm and you double the frequency, it's an octave higher, so it's an actual note. So I'll give you a detailed example. So if my rhythm happens to be 2 cycles per second, 2 beats per second, bum, 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 which could be a person's heart rate and brainwave rate, right? Well, if you double that, it's an octave. It's the same note. So that would be 4 or 8, 16, 32, 64 hertz of sound is a C. So that 2 hertz is a C also. So we find the rhythm of you when you're at peace. And now we measure the nodes within each of the 11 systems. It's like if you had a meridian and you measured the acupuncture points, which you can measure and find their frequency. When energy flows through a meridian, it's playing a song. Ba da da ba da da da. Right? At a very specific melodic progression and a very specific melody. So we measure the nodes within each of the 11 systems. And now we've got the notes of the melody. We got the rhythm from the EKG and EEG. We now have 11 songs of you, which is really the whole deal. Everybody talks about frequency and sounds, right? But really, the whole deal is musical flow through the system. So when you have energy in the nervous system, if you don't have smooth musical flow through your nervous system, you're going to be shaky. If you don't have smooth flow through your circulatory system, you can have a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have smooth flow through the digestive system, all types of problems happen. That's like one of the biggest problems we have. Smooth flow through meridians, the whole thing, right? And that's a song. We're talking ba da da ba da da ba. That's smooth flow versus what am I gonna do today? I can't believe what they think about me. Oh God, Lord help me, right? Or the worst of all, what am I gonna do? I can't breathe. That's the worst blockage of all, right? So it's all smooth flow. And the frequencies of a cell or any part, any organ, anything, are the notes within that music. When you could think of the cell as a frequency. A bunch of cells is a timbre, which is a sound, which is simply a bunch of harmonics or frequencies. So those are the organs. And the relationship between the parts are the actual musical interval. So if I find the frequency of my overall heart in relation to the overall liver, that's a musical interval relationship. And what we've discovered, and believe, I would bet a lot on this one, is that musical interval relationship between the parts and a human, it's the same for everybody.
Huh.
So that is the template of perfection. The reason nobody agrees with anybody on any frequency for anything in the body is because it's different from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, there are so many different levels of frequencies in any part of the body. You've got the whole organ, which there's a mathematical formula for size and thickness and density. You've got the materials of the organ. You've got the cellular frequencies. You've got the atomic frequencies. You've got the electromagnetic frequencies. You've got the photon frequencies of light. You've even got the quantum frequencies. If you're thinking about the heart, what about the frequency of love, right? So nobody is breaking it down as to all the different levels of frequencies that they're talking about. And even if they did, it's different from person to person. So what we're looking at is finding the relationship of all the frequencies. And that is the template of perfection of a human. And we all kind of look like people.
All right,
now,
so
everybody's got a different flow
okay.
through that. So that makes us different, right? But the structure of a human being is pretty much set.
So the template of perfection will work. Okay, tell me if I have this right. Will work for everyone. Right. Even though we're all unique.
Right. Because it's the framework of a human being.
Okay.
Right? So we all look like humans. In fact, it would be similar for animals, but a little bit different. Because animals have the same DNA, right? The same organs and stuff. So it's similar. But for humans, I thought maybe it would be different for different cultures, but my guides and all the people that I've talked to said, nope, we think it's actually the same. So all we do is we find your note, it's what we do, is we can find your metabolism note and rhythm. And you are, oh boy, you're very close to an F. You're very fast metabolism. You talk fast, right? And you're a little thinner. Whereas, people that have a slower metabolism, they're going to be a little more heavy set. Not always, because hormones can throw it off. I'm a B flat, which is the best note, by the way.
Well, I think F is the best.
Yeah, well, F is a really cool musical interval for B flat. It's really good.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's really funny. People with fast metabolisms often don't like people with slow metabolism. Come on, move on. Let's get it going, right? It's same with the slow metabolism. God, you're like a fly. Slow down, gee, right?
Yeah,
Whereas if we meet someone with the same note, it's like, oh, you want to go out?
it's a gel.
Or let's hang out, right? It's instant chemistry. It's really.
Hmm.
But here's what we do: is we play each of the 12 notes and rhythms. So it goes from wah 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 wah, it's the slowest, all the way up to wah 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 mum 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 mum. So your rhythm's like na 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 na. And it's interesting. The first thing you see when you see somebody is how scattered or stable they are.
Mhm.
A little too much coffee, spiritual leader, right? But the second thing we see is how fast somebody moves and talks, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we're talking about. And there's no judgment to metabolism. It's just what God gave us, right? Now, it's interesting. If some you can have somebody really fast that is scattered or stable. My next door neighbor, she's so fast. And you, so fast, but really stable. You're really stable.
Thank you.
And you could have somebody that's really slow metabolism, scattered or stable. Now, when we see somebody that's scattered, we often mistake it for fast because it's like all over the place. So, what we're talking about is back to stable, consistent vibrations versus scattered. Right? It's all peace is the whole deal. And the essence of mindfulness is peace and stillness.
Mhm. Yes.
Now, there's, except, I'm sorry, sound healing's more fun.
To each his own, David.
Okay, fine. It's
But
all perfect. It's all perfect.
I
It's all
incorporate
perfect.
both of those in my work,
It's
so
all
they're
perfect.
both
Okay,
awesome.
so check it out. Here's the so stable, consistent drones, which are tuning forks, crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, most even stable, consistent rhythms create peace. But there's another thing that's really effective, and that is a slow fade. You've heard crystal bowls before, right?
Oh
When a
yeah, and
crystal,
let me enter this. Okay, so I have bowls in my studio. I work with sounds, and typically when I'm working with on someone, I hum a lot of different. And plus, there's light language and all that that comes into it. So there is a, and all of this is energy and frequency in terms of what I do and what you do too. So it's yeah. Let me plug
yes,
that in there. All right, go ahead. David, are
okay.
you happy about this? Are you
Oh, it's great.
excited?
Oh, it's great. I'm
Yeah,
so excited. I see
it just
there's
radiates
so
all of
much,
you.
but there's so much potential to help the
Yeah.
world. We haven't even talked about the kids. That's the biggest one of all.
Okay.
So here's the what I've learned is a slow fade. A crystal ball will fade out really slowly,
Yeah.
and when it, if you've ever listened to it, when it ends, there's this peace and stillness after it's done. But I can give you an example to lead you to mindfulness by doing a rhythm. Check it out. Okay.
Okay.
Ba 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 quite different
It's yummy.
if I had just done a long breath.
Mhm.
What I've learned is when you smoothly take people there, you can start where they're at, or just start faster, or start louder, or start at a higher frequency and go to a lower, slower, softer, peaceful vibration. And people will go with you way more than if you just get mellow, which is what most sound healers do. And you know where I learned this from?
Where?
Pink Floyd.
Ah! Well, awesome.
That flow, that smooth flow that
Yes,
they build up and break down,
it's
which
true.
is also through a lot of music, it's like kirtan, breaks up and breaks
Hmm.
down slowly. That flow, smooth flow, creates smooth flow to a still point, where you're present. Now, there's another thing. You'll love this. There are different brainwave states that delta for sleep, which is a slower rhythm, theta for creativity and oneness, alpha for presence and mindfulness,
Hmm.
beta for thinking and overcoming ADHD, and then gamma for blissing out. When we find your note of your metabolism, that's the note of your rhythm of your brain in each one of those brainwave states. So I'm a B flat in delta. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Do you double that? And I'm a B flat in theta. Whoa, 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 whoa. Double that. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Alpha. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Beta. And then gamma. Right. So you can use the person's metabolism and entrain them with binaural beat rhythms, which are two frequencies that create a rhythm, tuned to you to get you into the alpha state that you would normally be in when you are in mindfulness.
Okay. Uh, wow.
So this is an avenue to entrain you into presence of you, where your brain is when you're present, which is really, I mean, alpha is, the ultimate where you are not thinking. You are simply present with the light
Speed.
and the sound around you, present in your body. Also, what I've learned is when you go on a hike on a rough trail, if you aren't in alpha and mindful, you're going down.
You better watch out.
Right?
Okay.
You have to be present
Yes.
in every step or you will fall.
Hmm.
And so all sports is so good, for really being present.
That is
Now,
true.
now I can take you to the next level.
Okay. Can I ask you one question
Yeah,
though?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So knowing that you talked about me being an F note, what do I do with that?
Well, you can, I've got CDs in delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma that tune to you, and you can listen to them, and it will get you back to you, which
Okay.
is really good in case you don't having problems with sleep. Really good if you want to go into and do creative work for theta. Really good if you just want to be present for learning. Really good for beta if you're thinking and processing, have ADHD, and gamma if you just really want to bliss out. Right. So that's the main thing. Now, you can also, what's really interesting, speaking of mindfulness, is to become more aware of all rhythms in the universe. And you begin with yours. Here's
Okay.
something really interesting. You can put your hand on your wrist or neck and feel your your
Pulse.
heartbeat, right?
Hmm.
So if I did a song to my heartbeat, that's my heartbeat right now. So it's so amazing because we're really aware of people's rhythms around us.
Yes.
It's really amazing that we're not aware of our own heartbeat, even though it's not like you can't feel it. It puts out an electromagnetic field for 50 feet. Everybody else feels it, right? And if you just tune into it, but then start noticing everybody else's rhythm. Notice how fast they walk. Notice I live here on the ocean, overlooking the entrance to the bay. There's so many birds out here. I've gotten to know the rhythm of all the birds. I sing to the birds. Okay, there's a pelican. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, there's a bird with faster flapping. Whoa, 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 whoa. And they look at me like, there's Dave singing to us again, right? And then you start noticing the rhythms of the crashing of the waves. And the time between two waves in a coherent set of waves happens to be zero point 0.1 cycle per second about, which is one beat, one crash every 10 seconds, which happens to be the frequency that you go into in your brain when you're transmitting love in heart coherence based on research from HeartMath.
Mhm.
And they also found there's a frequency coming from other galaxies, and this is scientifically studied. In our atmosphere is vibrating at zero point 0.1 cycle per second. It's like there's aliens out there sending us this frequency to resonate us into love. Right? So to become aware of all cycles, especially as a woman, especially moon, especially just even the sun, just noticing all cycles, because all of those rhythms are a part of us. And that's the ultimate mindfulness, is to be aware of all rhythms. Frequencies, people aren't as tuned into frequencies. People say, okay, what's your frequency? Well, it's much easier to tune into your rhythm. And rhythm technically is just a lower frequency.
Mhm.
Right? So we can, I can go, okay, here's your note. That's what I would say your note is. Right? Most people can't really discern notes. Right? And I mean, even though we listen to music all the time, it's really, there's the actual home note of the key of the song. Oh, here's another good one. It's like your rhythm is the home note of the key of your song. But
Okay.
the one we're talking about, your metabolism. But here's another one that's really interesting. Everybody sings when they speak. Some people sing really interesting songs. I had this one woman, she goes, I really don't know anything about music at all.
Oh, right.
That was sung perfectly. I, and then what I've learned is because everybody sings, we're all singing in a certain key. Here's the key that I sing in. And I go back to that note. And when I'm in love, I go to the lower key octave. Right. Okay. So what I've learned is when people express love, they go often to the home note of the key that they sing in when they speak. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
I really love my kitty. I love my kitty. Ooh, there's the home note. Ooh, I love my kitty. I wouldn't say, I love my kitty. I love my kitty. What's wrong with your kitty? No. Or some people go to the musical fifth above the home note. I love my kitty. And people that are sincere often go to the home note. Except politicians have figured this out. I'm totally lying. Trust me.
Man.
Although the problem is they actually believe it, so that's why they can go to that home note.
Mm.
So that's another frequency of love. Besides, I didn't even talk about the other frequency. I talked about your home note, but then there's the other frequency. Oh boy, this is important. So, so that's the frequency of love of your voice. Okay. Now,
Okay.
here's the frequency of love in your heart. A lot of people talk about 528 hertz. Leonard Horowitz now admits there's zero research behind that for love, but a lot of people are still working with 528. A lot of people have now reverted to 432. But I've found everybody's got their own frequency. Maybe there's a cosmic frequency out there from our solar system or universe. I bet there probably is. I would say it's more D than F. But who knows for sure. But everybody's got their own. And you can find it by bringing love into your heart. You want to try?
Yeah.
Bring love into your heart now and
Okay.
feel it completely. Everybody listening too. Feel it completely. Now, go up and down in your head and see if you can find a note. You don't have to know what it is. Just play with it. You can't get it wrong. Just play with it. And find a note or frequency that matches this love. Make it out loud when you got it. And mine is. Right. That, if that felt right, that's the frequency of love for you.
Oh, jeez.
So I had this psychic. She says, Dave, if you find your home note of your metabolism, the note of love in your heart, which we didn't do with the voice, we didn't find the note of love of your voice, and your soul note, and play those 4 notes to a person, it will put them in complete bliss. I'm like, how can you find the soul note? I used to think that your soul note is the note where you're at peace in your body, which is your metabolism note.
Yeah.
That would make sense unless God's messing with us, right? That would be right. She said, no, that's not. So she said, you can actually see it in a person's eyes. It's a light frequency. So one day we'll be able to find that. But really, ultimately, we want the frequency of unity consciousness and oneness.
Yes.
You've been one with the universe, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's like all is known, and there's universal love there. And it's just the most peaceful, blissful place there is. And what I've realized, it's like you are all frequencies when one with the universe.
Mm-hmm.
You're all. So there's multiple ways you can get there. When I ask people in my classes and workshops, how many of you have been one with the universe? It's generally only a third. And I say, how many can access it at will? And it goes down to less than a quarter. This is so major. I mean, when we learn how to access it, it's incredible. So there's one of my colleagues, Jeffrey Martin, who now has ultrasound frequencies that he can play on microtubules in your brain in a lab and bring you into oneness in the lab every time. And he can show when you're there by the EEG map.
Right.
It's so successful that he's now doing classes on how to incorporate oneness into your daily life. I mean, why get out of bed? Why go to work? You know, you go homeless, right? It's because you're blissed out, right? So, also, the other thing is when you're one with the universe, there's no more depression. There's no more anxiety. There's no more PTSD. We're talking an end to all mental, emotional issues. So we've now got the potential to find the mechanisms of flow for everything in the physical body, the energy of oneness for the mental, emotional parts of the body. We're talking about an end to all disease one day. The biggest problem is people don't believe it.
Yes.
So that's why we're doing the Netflix shows and all the different movies to educate, right? But here's the next deal. Oh, I got to show one more thing about oneness.
Okay, I want to ask you a question.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so knowing we're moving into different energy, all of that. So Rife came up with what did he use, energies and frequencies, or was it? I don't know. But
electromagnetic.
Electromagnetics.
Not sound.
So was it early 1900s or something that he developed this?
57.
It was 57. Okay, so wasn't he like stopped his machines? All right. So, and I watched a podcast of you probably 5 years ago where you also talked about the medical industry, and you were a little bit like, I don't know about all that yet. Seems like you have totally moved into it now.
Yeah. I see the path now, and that it really is. I mean, once we get FDA approval for these devices, which there
Mhm.
is a device for cancer right now where you can put electrodes of sound on the body and it will do it. This company got $27 billion over years to actually do this project. I
Okay.
forget the name of them, but it's getting the FDA approval and then bringing it in that way because that's like then there's then the public drives it. It's like,
Okay.
oh, we'll do commercials like, did you know that we got 95% success rate in getting rid of cancer? Right? Actually, I saw an article just this week about they actually found the frequency of material that attaches to cells that can destroy a cancer cell. So they're not resonating the frequency of the cancer to explode it. They found this like liquid that coats a cell,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
they know the frequency of the liquid, and it's somehow easier to explode the cell. It was just on Yahoo, right? I mean, we are so close to it. So it's really, you know, two parts. One is science for the medical field and education for the masses.
So I do feel we are in a time and space for this. And it sounds like you as well, using the systems that are in place for benefit versus going against the system.
Well, there's still going to be, I mean, there's doctors that go, where's the clinical research? Did you do the
Mm-hmm.
$500 million clinical research on this?
Mm.
And it's like, well, do you know that stable, consistent vibrations overcome chaotic vibrations? When the body is healthy, every single cell and organ is stable and consistent. Oh, that makes sense. And so but there's going to have to be some clinical research, but it's not like massive that has to
Right.
but it's really, if we have a cure for cancer around the world and people are going, oh my god,
Yeah.
the
This
masses are
helps.
going to drive it.
Hmm.
And so I see it really happening. It's really also the cool thing about there's certain techniques with sound. Like there's a company in Israel that's using ultrasound to explode every type of cancer cell,
Wow.
but they're using fMRI to guide it, so it's still really expensive.
Mm.
So that is a good way, is to find the ways that are expensive.
So people make money
Right, right.
and
Okay, doesn't
healing.
that suck? But at least it gets it into the.
Oh,
It's better than chemo and
oh
radiation.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Wow.
people start learning. Ultimately, okay, here's where we're headed, and this is hard to imagine.
Love
I
it.
can
Let's go.
imagine everything else, but you go into the hospital and they say, okay, you've got an issue physically. We're going to use sound vibrations to either break it up or harmonize it into the flow to get rid of it. Okay, and you're like, cool. But first, you need to go into the emotional wing and get rid of
Should have
that
thought that.
stuck emotion that caused it in the first place.
Yes.
Okay. And you should go into the mental wing and use brainwave entrainment to get your brain and your whole system back to you.
Ah,
And you should go into the spiritual wing. Oh, not spiritual? Go into the garden. And let's talk about different flow systems in nature
yeah.
and connect you to nature again. And then we'll go and get rid of that problem with physical vibrations physically. That's the way hospitals should be. And I know some
Yes.
hospitals uh, that are coming getting funded now that we're looking at doing that with. So we're working at all levels instead of compartmentalized like it is now. Right? I mean, it's like if you have a heart condition, how come they don't say, how much love do you have in your life?
That's what I say.
I mean, if you got, I bet
Yes.
80% of people with heart conditions
Yes.
just need more love.
Hmm.
And if we could teach people how to run universal love, that's the deal. Oh my God. And that's not an easy one for a lot of people.
Okay. So I'm seeing all of this coming to be like kind of like in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
If people want to move that way and or they can stay in this chaos, which is happening right now too. They can stay in the chaos, or they can choose to jump on over into this peace. Let me lower my voice and my into all this, because it's not only here, it's coming, and it's going to get better all the time. And I like to be the voice of positivity. And David, you are as well, which is so great. Okay. You've already done a practice with us. Can you leave us with one more?
Yeah.
Just be practice.
So when you tune in to multiple things at once, you go into theta brainwave state, which is the same state you are when you're one with the universe. So when you tune in to multiple sparkles on the water, or a view, or all the branches and leaves on a tree, or all the sounds in a mix of music, or all of the frequencies and harmonics with even one crystal ball or a gong. Oh my God. Thousands of frequencies, right? Then your brain goes out of the prefrontal cortex into the whole brain, like Joe Dispenza talks about. And your whole brain starts working. And you're just one little step, bing, to being one with the universe. So tune in. This ties into what you were talking about at the very beginning. Tune in to all of your problems. Some people, when they think of a problem, they say, I'm just going to try and be positive, right? Instead, do this. When you think of a problem, tune into all of your problems. Think about all the problems you have, everybody. Think about all of them.
I'm going to close my eyes here.
Okay. Might take a while. just let them all be in front of you. Okay? Don't become them. Just watch them. Then, to be consistent with reality, now tune in to all the things you can be grateful for at the same time. Okay? We've got so much. I mean, one of my favorites is, I've never, ever been hungry a single day of my life, except not being able to get back from a hike or fasting. And there's so much love in my heart. There's I'm just so grateful for life and every breath. I mean, I'm grateful for hot and cold water coming out of my shower. Oh my God, right? There's so much. I've got a video of Sound of Gratitude, but if you haven't done a gratitude list, make a list. Okay? And then, now, look in front of you. Here's all your problems and all the things you can be grateful for in front of you. We're now tuning into multiple things at once, which brings us into theta of a still point. But let's take it to the next level. Now, think of all the problems in the world. All the wars, all the politics, all the people treating people not kindly. Oh my God. Selfishness, greed. But at the same time, think of all the cool things. Oh my God, nature is unbelievable. And every person just about that I ever come across is always thinking about kindness. The amount of kindness that people do is unbelievable. And all the love in the world. Oh my God. So now we've got all our problems, all of personal and global. We've got all the things to be grateful for, personal and global. We've got the whole universe. And just go, ah, ah. And then send a sound of love to all of it. You can't do it wrong. Let's do it. Send that sound of love to source and listen for the universal love coming back. Now send that sound of love to the earth and listen for it responding. Now send that sound of love to your own heart. Whenever you have any chaos in or around you, send the sound of love to it. Don't worry about the frequency. You don't even have to do it out loud. Do it silently. And you're creating stable, consistent coherence to overcome all of that chaos, which contributes to coherence on the whole planet. And one day, we'll all be in complete oneness with no more disease, blissed out with universal love completely filling our hearts. Imagine what that would feel like. Make the sound of that.
Yay. That's all I can say. Very, very good. And I remember on one show I watched on too, it was very similar to this. Instead, okay, because we just did it, but let me put it into words and you help me with that. Instead of being positive, it is bringing both of those things together. So the negative and the positive, basically to that still point. And that is the point of just being. So not ignoring, but just being more neutral or just, yeah. How else can you put that into?
Exactly it. The second we label it positive or negative, we're in trouble. I mean, the second we label it negative, it's like, we got to get away from it. Second we label it positive based on Buddhism, we're now attached to it. And we don't want to lose it, right? So it's all just a frequency or a vibration or a flow or not. It just is what it is. And that is like, okay, it's all perfect.
Thank you. That was really delightful. Before I say goodbye, David, I want to state that I'm going to send love to my dishwasher and sing to it because I am not buying these warranties because I believe in all that. So yeah, as soon as we're done, I'm going to go sing to it and send it some love and gratitude. Thank you for that too. Okay, y'all. David, thank you so much. Y'all stay tuned next week. Who is going to be on next week? So Jen from Massachusetts is going to be in. Then P and Cullen are going to be back because it's been a while since we've seen them. They're my only regulars that come on the show. They talk to the Palladians. So awesome. Jen did a whole bunch of research with Ghislaine Maxwell when all that was going on. So she'll talk some about that. Okay. Thank you so much. Y'all stay tuned. Come back again. David, bye. Y'all find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Truth Social, as well as Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, plus a plethora of other audio directories like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So subscribe, do it all. See ya.